So this is normally where we would jump in and we would start talking about the games that were over the past weekend. But the truth of the matter is, we didn't have games last weekend, so we will kind of start to look ahead. Hey, Dad, Borky teased it right out of the gate. This is a really, really big week for both Mississippi State and for Ole Miss. Mississippi State going on the road to an Arkansas team that has not been home for 5 weeks. I mean, it's crazy to think that it's been that long. They haven't played a home game since they hosted BYU.
Yeah.
And they lost that one.
Yes.
Since then they've been to Arlington for the game against Texas A&M. They've been on the road to Oxford. They've been on the road to Tuscaloosa. And now they get to finally come. Oh, there was a road trip to LSU right after the BYU game.
Yeah.
Arkansas has lost 5 in a row after starting the season 2-0. The crazy thing is, when you look at those 3 true road games, it's a 3-point loss to LSU, a 7-point loss to Ole Miss, and a 3-point loss to Alabama. So it's really easy for us to look at Arkansas and go, ugh, bad team. They're 2-5. They're winless in the SEC. And maybe that's true. I mean, those numbers are true. Maybe it is true that they're just a bad football team. But to play to a field goal in Baton Rouge, a touchdown in Oxford, and a field goal in Tuscaloosa kind of makes you question are they a bad team? Or are they just outmatched? What do we think about Arkansas right now?
Are they a good, bad team? Is that what you're asking me? Are they a team they're not they're good, but they can't win. They don't know how to win. And not having Rocket Sanders has hurt them a lot. He will not be available this week. Sam Pittman told us that in his press conference earlier today. I wonder with Arkansas mentally where they are. Because I feel like they're in one of two places, right? They're either in okay, we're so close, and we can turn this around, and we're playing a Mississippi State team that's not very good, so let's focus on getting this win. Or are they in the spot where they're like, they're just broken? They've lost 5 straight close games, and they're just like, what do we have to do? I think probably knowing Sam Pittman and knowing the way that he coaches, that they're probably closer to option A. They probably look at this as a big opportunity, and they had a chance to get their season a little bit back on track. So that's why it's going to be so important for State. And Arnett hit on it a little bit today in his press conference. They got to come out of the gates fast on Saturday when they get there. They need to be up 7-0. They need to play with the lead for a little while. Get that Arkansas crowd frustrated. It's an 11 a.m. kick, so you got a chance to have a sleepy crowd as it is. If they can do that, they might have some opportunities. But if you let Arkansas build up some confidence and let KJ Jefferson have time to throw the way you've done the last 4 games that you played, 5 games that you played really, then it's going to be a long day for Mississippi State.
If Arkansas loses this game to Mississippi State, then I subscribe to option B in your scenario. Going to Florida, it might be ugly.
They're over. It's done at that point. Yeah, I agree.
But given the way that, they played their high knees off against Ole Miss and couldn't get it done. They played their high knees off this past weekend against Alabama and couldn't get it done. I think Sam Pittman is able to get one more play their high knees off performance.
Yeah.
And see
one more
what
squeeze
happens.
Of the orange.
And if they win that game, then they start looking at the remaining schedule and going, okay, we got to go to Florida, and that's hard, and they're better at home. And that's a team that's getting better, but they're not a great team. And Auburn's bad, and they're coming to our place. And we get FIU, and that should be a win. And then who knows what happens in a manufactured rivalry game at the end of the year, which is also a home game. But Arkansas can't do this and this and this and this and this. It's we got to get through Saturday, and then we got an open date. But we can't do anything about the rest of it unless we win this one.
They are straight up one game at a time. Coaches love to say it all the time, but that's where Arkansas is. They are one game at a time. They need to beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State's there too. Mississippi State is one game at a time. They need to beat Arkansas, then they need to beat Auburn, and then you go from there. So you hate to say it. You're only 7 games in, but somebody's season is going to end on Saturday in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
The loser of this game is for all intents and purposes done.
And the same rationale that I just used with the rest of Arkansas' schedule, you can do the exact same thing with Mississippi State's schedule. They're actually a game better than Arkansas because they've got the win against Arizona, whereas Arkansas lost that game to BYU. So for Mississippi State, it's an absolute must win. And we don't throw that around very often. But this game for this season for Mississippi State on Saturday at 11 a.m. in Fayetteville is an absolute must win.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, okay, well, if you win this one, hold on now. All right, everybody take a breath. We all get that the first half of the year wasn't worth a flip. And we understand that we are winless in conference play, but we just won one. Now we go to Auburn, and they're bad. And then we get Kentucky.
They're not great. Terrible on the road, too.
Just very okay. And then we go to A&M, and who knows what A&M's going to be at that point. You get a home game against Southern Miss, and then, oh, by the way, you get to host the Egg Bowl, and sometimes weird things happen. But the only thing that matters right now is this Saturday in Fayetteville.
They got to win this Saturday. Yeah, state schedule is so weird in that you're correct. The SEC, once you get past like the fourth best team, which I think is Missouri, Tennessee is in that discussion. Tennessee, Missouri, I think Ole Miss is a very solid 3. You know who the top 2 are. LSU is in there too. But LSU is a problem because they can't stop anybody. So you can't – I don't know how to take them super seriously.
I think their defense.
Everybody else, though, it might be. But they played Auburn last week. That's not a good
that's
gauge.
Right. You're right.
So
you're right.
So for me, the rest of the SEC is just like this big mountain of whoever. And anybody could beat anybody. So yeah, there's a scenario, where State comes out and plays well. And they beat Arkansas and they beat Auburn. They play Kentucky, and all of a sudden they got some momentum going. But there's also a scenario where they're 4-8. And I don't know. That was the focus of today's Thunder and Lightning podcast, and we'll bring this here. It's like, I don't know which way. They're at the fork in the road right now, and I don't really know which way they're going to go. I'm leaning towards the dark path, but that's just because I've watched them play every game, and I just haven't been impressed by anything this year.
May I remind you, too, that when you come to a fork in the road, you should take it?
100%.
Thanks, Yogi. Yeah. Forky, I mean, you didn't even hesitate a second ago when Haydad said, for one of these teams at 3 o'clock on Saturday night, for all intents and purposes, the season is over.
I agree, especially when you look at what Arkansas is leading up to this point, and then what still is ahead of Mississippi State and the way they've played to this point. Yeah, I agree. What an interesting spot a loss would put both athletic directors in, and a win. Take Arkansas, for example. Forget the state side of it. You mentioned it. 13 combined points in the last 3 games, all on the road, in Baton Rouge, where, frankly, I think a bad head coaching decision kind of took the ball out of their hands late. But still, I mean, they got beat by a last-second field goal in Baton Rouge. They had the lead in the fourth quarter in Oxford. Had the ball driving down 2 in the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa, and, frankly, got whistle-whipped. The officials didn't do them any favors. Stop me if you've heard that one before. The road team didn't get calls in Tuscaloosa that they should have. And so if you're Arkansas, do you look at this, like Haydad said, what are you? Are you just so close but not there, and why aren't you there? And what do you do with that if you're in a position of leadership at Arkansas, looking at this team and the way they've played and how close they've been, but close counts for nothing in this conference? I mean, we bring it up with Missouri all the time. What's the crowd like Saturday?
For the Arkansas-Mississippi State
What's the crowd
game?
like Saturday? That factors into a decision as well.
Yeah, I think that matters. The weather, it appears, is going to cooperate big time, and they hadn't played at home in over a month.
That'd be good.
We'll be back.